one thing that I would say I'd want to have as a takeaway is trust is structural. Um, and we do tend to regulate trust to be the culture and values in a company, right? And maybe even like a company, like a leadership offsite, right? But it's not just that, right? Trust is dynamic. It's very dynamic. There's measurable forces that determine whether a whole ecosystem, like the region we talked about in Madrid, it can grow or collapse, right? So for business, it can determine whether a deal gets done and it's profitable or not, if there's capital flowing in.
Hey, Karen.
Hey, Fernando.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, you know, have sunshine. That's all we could aim for today. Great weekend. And thanks a lot for that. Uh, we have been trying to schedule this for quite some time now. So I'm really happy that we were able to do this time and spend some time now talking. Uh, what I want to say is we've been working for, some time now and got to meet you a bit. So I don't know. Tell me about your background, yourself. What you want to share about that, just so get to know a bit about you.
Sure, I could share just maybe my career a little bit, just and where I landed and where I am now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, I started in financial services, and then I transitioned into leadership, training, management, consulting, went into corporate, worked in a unionized environment, which was really good experience at that time. And then I got recruited into private equity, where I was handling a lot of transformation initiatives and handling things that were corporate services related, meaning HR, accounting and finance department, and IT department. So just really doing systems and structural changes to improve the company. And I was traveling quite a bit. I was living out of my luggage pretty much and always
Oh,
gone. Yeah. So I think after years of that, I spun off and decided to do my own thing and create a Clue and Company and basically doing the same work, expanding more to also entrepreneurs and smaller business owners as well, not just the larger companies or the mid-sized companies. So, and then extended the services to help also on the debt advisory component for business financing because I saw a gap with um, with where the business owner is at, and for them to, when they're at the inflection point, they want to grow to that next level or scale, they don't have access to capital. So we provide some services to help find the right uh, loan program that they can qualify for so they can take their business to the next level.
okay. So basically, you're doing the same job, but you decided you saw an opportunity and you went your way.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get your uh, education in terms of background. What is it?
Yeah. So in undergrad, I was at UW, so I went to the business school there. So I studied business with the concentration in finance and
Oh,
also
okay.
marketing. Yeah, and then I got my MBA in at MIT Sloan School in Cambridge.
Ooh, nice. Very nice. Good. Yeah, it's been really. What I can say, it's been really rich um, to see you in action and doing business. Um, and I was really excited to know a bit more. We talked business, but we didn't get to an opportunity to tell me about yourself. So uh, that's one thing I was really excited about this conversation. Um, I do see your passion on the things you do, and you do a lot of things. So, what's exciting happening right now?
Exciting, huh? So I would say, I've been collaborating with some people, had the opportunity to do launch a webinar series to educate business owners around. On my part, it's on the finance side, right? Just the business funding aspect and how to be fundable, but position yourself for growth is my part. And then, there's some other pieces that other folks are delivering because I'm collaborating here and they're talking about building a brand story. And so that's part of the business, right? That's how you can attract clients and have alignment with customers and then grow revenue. And therefore you're going to be in a position to grow. But there's a lot of confusion or just it could be, it feels like a black hole of what lenders look at. And so just providing that education and value. So we just launched that series this month and are continuing, part two and part three with that. So that's kind of been fun. And that's one project. I've got, some other projects I'm working on the real estate side. And I also have a passion project to help educate women in commercial real estate investing. Because when I started getting into it, I noticed there's not a lot of women in commercial real estate. They could be investing in residential, but not the commercial side. So we have like an online community, and we provide education. So we have different topics and have guest speakers at times to share knowledge around different asset classes or just investments in general relating to commercial real estate.
It seems I hear you saying that you like um, the initial stages and guide people around that.
Yeah, so people are at different stages with their business, but yeah, we can guide them in the initial stages or at their inflection point where there's a change for the next level, right? That could be at $5 million revenue. It's a small company, and they're wanting to take it to, 10 million, and then 15, 20 million, right? So they've got to think about building an operating system to be able to support that. So we help with any stage where they're at an inflection point and they're ready to take it to the next level.
Right, right. That's interesting. And more into the financial aspect, or in general.
In general, yeah, just on the strategy and operations, how to operationalize it, right? So every company will need to be looking at their um, their operations and what they're spending, right? Their profits. So it's not always about revenue. Revenue is absolutely important, but sometimes when you're looking at um, inside the business itself, you can find ways to be able to be more profitable as well. And there's strategies around that we can work with. And that's basically what I did inside companies when I was working for companies, right? Inside the teams is looking at aspects of, you know, line items of their OpEx and how their workflow is working, what technology they're using. There could be none. Everything could be manual, which can be time consuming and costly in a way, right? Because if there's a lot of mistakes, if things are done manually, it can be, the cost is hidden and they don't even know about it. So we look at all of that, we review all of that, and we try to make improvements there. And even in one area, one strategy, a 1%, 2% improvement can compound over time with the other strategies. And so in combination, you'll see that small improvements, small moves make a big difference, and it can impact the bottom line.
So your role is like have an holistic view of the entire company and see where you can work at the efficiency and procedures.
That's right. Yes, looking at it from a systems thinking point of view, which I love doing, and I studied, systems thinking, system dynamics in general. Right, we're looking at the whole big picture, how one part can affect another, which variable is got a causal relationship with another variable in the system. So you look at it as a system, not just one silo department, one silo individual. It is a structure.
Okay. All right. And I didn't get a chance. You sent me the your graduation paper or something. Yeah, I didn't look. Uh, but I want you to tell me because I think it's related to what you do today. Is that correct?
Yeah, in a way,
Or no?
it applies to how I go about business, how I think about business.
Oh,
And it was, yeah, it was an academic research that I did during my time in grad school. So I started that project then, and it just took a few years in the making, right? But I dedicated a whole semester to that project and combined about five other disciplines from different departments, different professors at the time to be integrated into this research. So it is using systems thinking and system dynamics to model trust in ecosystems, right? So it was interesting because you don't really think about trust. It's more soft. People think about it as just okay, yeah, sure, right? But it's actually an invisible infrastructure that keeps everything running in an innovation ecosystem that I studied. So I think I started to the whole topic of trust piqued my interest um, because I had a professor back then and he's one of the world's leading experts in the field of system dynamics. And it's something that he said that it just stuck with me the whole time. And life just really, everything happening in, life or business, you can just relate to it, right? Trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets. So that phrase, just kind of quietly sent me down a rabbit hole. And so I started questioning everything like, okay, okay, all right. So if trust is that fragile, how do entire ecosystems or cities and regions and companies and innovation hubs, how does that all survive? Right. So that's why I kind of got into it that way. And I started being very curious and started thinking about all the different variables and just started digging into it more and dedicated a semester to this topic. And what happens, like what holds it together, what holds an ecosystem together when the going gets tough, right? When there's pressure, because there's always pressure. Never, nothing in life and business is going to go perfectly smooth all the time. There's going to be moments of pressure and whatnot. So trust isn't just a nice to have in business. It's essential, right? It's like plumbing. You don't notice the plumbing in your home or how important it is until it breaks.
right. So, what have you learned? How does that relate? So, what are the impacts? You mean I capture trust and ecosystems. Tell me more.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot through this because, some things you just know automatically or just intuitively, but then now I modeled it, right? Now it's you're looking at the cause and effect and the different variables. And I did a case study. I used Madrid case study as one um, compelling story to model out and learn from it, right? So that was all the other thing. But and it does affect me how I do business today, right? So I would say it definitely made an impact to how I operate nowadays. I
Positively?
I would say both. I would say I'm more discerning, right? I'm more discerning about um which is I'm not saying that I'm more or less trusting person. I'm just more discerning. So it's a little different. I extend trust more deliberately rather than defaulting to skepticism or giving it away freely, right? I pay attention to the signals because a few things that stood out in the study, in the academic study, is the consistency. That was one variable that was important, is follow through, consistency, and just being honest under pressure. If anything happens, the you can see how people react. And so, for instance, I would say when something goes wrong, people are leaning to blame like an individual, right? Because the system wasn't set up for trust building. So there was incentives that were misaligned. So I look at it as, where did the channels break down? Was it the communication? Right. I look at it as a feedback loop because I'm, modeling this and I have feedback loops in the system dynamics models. And so, where does it go wrong in the direction, right? Where does the feedback loops from a virtuous cycle becomes a vicious cycle? And so studying that made me more rigorous and more patient, I would say. And by that, I mean, rigorous because I'm looking out for the signals and I pay attention to it. And when I say patient, I would say that I know it takes time to build trust because in the model there's a delay factor, right? There's a delay factor in the model. So I understand at a deep level that you can't rush it. You can only keep showing up, and so I would say that has changed me in that sense. And then in how I apply it into business is I also created a process in evaluating partnerships for investments. Right, this is something I do on my own. This is in terms of my own investments personally. And I look at partnerships and potential partnerships in a way that, yes, we've got to build trust, but how do you learn? How do you know? You can't just get into an investment deal together and then learn from that. And so there is a process around just a guide around the conversations, experiences, getting to know them, just behavioral questions, just like same process that you have when you're interviewing and hiring someone for a company. If a manager is hiring someone, right, there's an interview process here. There is that, but I would say that it takes more time than just one interview or two interviews, right? It's not an interview; it's a conversation, and so that takes time to do ahead of time. So thinking ahead, don't wait until you have a deal that you have to close right away, and then you're under pressure, and then you're looking at, we're sharing our FICO scores or credit scores. We're being honest, like, hey, I'm responsible and I don't mind showing, that I've never had any issues financially, because you're getting into investments together. So you definitely want to be very transparent about where you're at and where they're at, right? So that's another aspect to the process. We're looking at background checks, any criminal history and past, right? We're going through that. So there is a process around what we're trying to do to make sure that we have a solid team when we're doing investments together. And it's a good guide. And it's that I think that stemmed from the study, right? Before, I would think about, okay, I trust this person, but now it's more methodical.
Okay. So what I hear was three things stuck while you're saying: process, um, trust, of course, and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I captured is if you have a process and you be consistent with that process, and you build trust, it's going to be a well-oiled machine. That's kind of the formula.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors too, but I would say consistency is a strong variable in the trust model, right? To build trust, and trust is a foundation. It's not, it doesn't guarantee success, but it is going to help make, improve growth and success in collaboration, which in an ecosystem when you have many stakeholders, that's needed, right? So I I think so I mean maybe let's go back to kind of, what a low trust environment looks like.
Yeah.
So it's something you can say, people recognize it once you name it, but in a low trust environment, it's a very distinct feel. Maybe everything requires some just a, everything requires approval, right? There's no kind of levels there. It's just everything has to be approved. in general, and nobody shares information. I think that's also key in these ecosystems. Is
Mm,
they're keeping all the information to themselves, but no one's sharing freely, because knowledge is power to them, right? And so maybe meetings end without clear ownership. Who's doing what by when? And maybe people are polite in this low trust environment, but they're polite in your face, but they're kind of skeptical and behind your back, right? And so when something goes wrong, the first instinct is, who do we blame, not how do we fix it? That's a
yeah,
low trust environment.
yeah,
And then in contrast, I would say a high trust environment, people feel completely different. People actually say what they think in meetings in a respectful way. When someone makes a commitment, it gets done. Information flows across teams, it's reciprocated. Partners share resources without lawyering everything. Right? And when something goes wrong, the response is, hey, how do we solve this together?
and
Right?
and I imagine you had. Oh, sorry, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that that's just summing that up. The contrast between low trust, high trust environments is that in the research, this model makes a difference between it's a virtuous cycle and vicious cycle. And so the
Okay.
virtuous cycle is where every positive interaction adds a drop to that trust reservoir, right? And that's the real model, right? I called it the stock and flow model, where trust is accumulated over time, like a water tank, right? And then in a vicious cycle, the reservoir is draining. And so, and the kind of the scary part is, some people sometimes don't notice. We don't sometimes notice that the draining is happening until it's nearly empty, right? They're not catching it, so it's happening quietly.
And I imagine that on the vicious cycle, energy is drained as well from people, and the
Hmm.
other builds energy, right?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, energy wasn't even part of the variable here, but it's kind of that effect that happens to individuals, right? Because where I was modeling stakeholders, but yes, for individuals that are in, part of the stakeholders, are in the ecosystem itself, because we're dealing with people in general. It is drained, absolutely. It takes time, and people will start to withdraw from that because they're drained.
Yeah.
You're absolutely spot on.
And I imagine you had the opportunity to implement this in the companies that you worked with.
Hmm.
What can you share about it? Well, what were the results you saw?
Yeah, so when we're doing any kind of alignment, right? So we're refreshing value, the vision, mission, and values, and the strategy of a company, and then we're looking at the culture and how do we redefine the culture. All of that has to align, and when you're also dealing with culture, you're dealing with people, employees. You can't just say, hey, we have a new vision, we have a new strategy, and there you go, right? There's got to be trust built, there's got to be rapport built, and you should bring along the people, with the leadership team, should bring the people along on the journey together, not say, hey, it's this all of this change that's happening in the company. Um, it's going to be top down, and we're going to put all of our new values on a poster, and we're going to slap it on the wall, and there you go, right? Live by these values. It doesn't work that way. So underlying all of that is coming in, especially when you're doing a major change. There's this change management, right? Or you're acquiring a company and you're trying to do a turnaround and looking at where things are at. You've got to really understand the history and respect that, and then incorporate that into the kind of, the next level of improvement that you want to get to, right? But yes, I would say building trust, having communication, and having transparency. Transparency is also another variable that is key in the model, and getting agreements, and getting people. collaborating. Collaboration is also key. Partnerships. We get employees involved in committees and participating and sharing their ideas. So there's reciprocity, right? So it's not just management doing everything. This is feedback from employees to mid-level managers to high-level managers to execs, and vice versa, right? They give feedback as well, so there's alignment. So all of this is incorporated into the work that is done in companies and for clients.
And which role mindset plays on all in all this?
Say that again.
Which role mindset plays in all this? Because you mentioned culture, you cannot change mission, vision, values overnight. You have to work with the culture. But I imagine that there is an alignment also between uh, management and employees. So um, I'm also always concerned about mindset. What's the mindset people must have so all this, like a glue, everything works together. So your insight about mindset, where mindset plays a role in
Yes,
that.
yes, that's a great question. Mindset is very important. So I think the mindset of um, the ability to kind of change and improve, right, and continue to learn. So kind of that learning mindset, the growth mindset, because if they're wanting a change, it's just to take it to the next level, not to stay how things have been the last couple of years or the last 20 years, whatever, how long the company has been doing the same thing or having the same strategy. Now, times change in business. So you've got to be able to adapt and change. So having that um, mindset of, um, no, I think everything is fine the way it is. We don't need to use systems. We can just manually write everything down and take orders for customers and give a piece of paper to our colleague and get the work done, right? So having the ability to learn and that mindset to be willing to learn, willing to change, willing to improve and provide input and participate, right? Instead of working in silo as well, is also important. So anyone, it doesn't matter at what level in the company, they need to be able to be adaptive and willing to learn and change and improve and collaborate. Collaborate is so key in um, in this type of work, right? And it's also key in the study. That was so huge. That was so big that came out of that when I did the Madrid case study as well. Back to that academic study, that's what really got the region to be super successful. Is that
Right.
collaboration between, I mean, yeah, between all of the stakeholders they had. I mean, just to give you just a snapshot of what happened there in that case study, in so Madrid in the mid 2010s, I would say, they had everything, right? They had top tier university system, multinational corporations, right? They have strong connections to Latin America, and yet nothing was clicking because the ecosystem was fragmented, right? The pieces were there, but they weren't talking with each other, right? So and then 2015, Madrid joined the MIT's REAP program. REAP stands for Regional Entrepreneurship Acceleration Program, and this is what brought the five stakeholder groups together to figure out what's holding the region back. Right, the five stakeholders is your government, corporations, your entrepreneurs, investors, your universities, right? And they discovered what the core problem was, right? Connectivity, which is built on trust. There was a lack of it. And so they had must-win battles, and then they decided to fix it. So what they did was they created a network called the MIDI group, the Madrid Innovation Driven Entrepreneurship. And that's a group specifically to help with this initiative, right? How do we improve this region? So they were all in the same mindset of how do we improve and grow and make this work, right? So they're aligned there. So specifically, they wanted to connect people across the ecosystem. So then what happened next was really remarkable. Um, uh, once connectivity and communication improved, trust started building there. And then once trust started building, everything else followed. The partnerships formed, the investment flowed, startups scaled, right? This is the beautiful example of that virtuous cycle. And it started with a simple decision to get people together and aligned, collaborating and having the same goal. So the mindset there is the underlying foundation for individuals.
Wow. It seems you're saying that silos kill the company. Can kill a company.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Really curious. Mm. And you're talking about a country, right? City, Madrid.
Madrid, yeah, the whole region. This is why
Yeah,
it's so fascinating because they can get a whole region to, I mean, again, the region was really strong and had just so many ups, have so much going for them. They still couldn't make it work because it was fragmented. So collaborating together and working together was so key. And then there's a lot more variables on breaking down that collaboration and how what was the cause and effect relationship. And that's what the system dynamics modeling did, was to kind of narrow that down and really study the pieces um, that pull it all together.
and to understand the scale there, you're talking about a region. What were the entities involved? I mean, universities, companies, the
Yes.
government, everything.
Yes, those five stakeholders, exactly. The universities, the multinational corporations. You have corporations involved, so they're one of the five stakeholders, right? You've got the entrepreneurs, you've got those startups, right? That are in the ecosystem. You've got investors. These are folks that are providing capital, right? Yeah, and you got the government. You've got government having policies that are incentivizing growth in this region. So they're working with everybody in this ecosystem. So those are your stakeholders that are coming together in one room and figuring out, how we're going to make this successful together. So
Got
that was
it.
quite incredible just to study.
It is, and that was your thesis. Your thesis was based on this study, right?
It was it was just a case study that I modeled in the research, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
hypothesis, yeah, was around that trust in an ecosystem can determine the success or the collapse of an innovation-driven entrepreneurship ecosystem. So that was the hypothesis, and through the case studies and some of the other models around trust and how trust relates to relational contracts as well. Uh, that just really digging deep and getting just geeking out on it.
Wow. And it seems that it spoke so dearly or loud with you that you implement and use this in any venture that you are part of today.
Yes, I tried to apply it and so that I could improve things I work on, right? So that I could make sure that my ecosystem or my different projects, um, I'm not dealing with a whole region, but I'm dealing with different investment projects and initiatives and whatnot, has a higher chance to be successful, so that we could start off with a strong foundation, and that's the trust building. That's the alignment piece, the
Got
communication,
it.
right?
Got
Yeah,
it.
you got to get to know people to communicate. If something goes wrong in a business venture, who's going to deal with the crisis? How do people deal with crisis? Everyone deals with it differently,
Yeah.
right? Some people are conflict adverse and like, oh, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. Don't want to face.
I don't want to
Yeah,
deal with it. I don't want to be on
miscommunication.
the call about this. You guys decide. Like, but if we're a partnership, then everybody's got to be involved to help solve the problem together. So yeah, so I definitely, it made a huge impact in that way. Versus using just intuition and whatnot. Now it's bit more methodical and deliberate, but yet I have a better understanding of some of the variables that, like I mentioned, there's a delay. So I understand it takes time. So trying to get ahead of it versus afterwards.
No,
And
that's
that's a lot.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. So I understand the impact. Now I'm curious, circling back, what motivated you to move from, let's say, a corporate job and then go on your own?
Yeah. I think the working, traveling the way that it was, that the hours, right? And just being gone, it was just not going to be what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Right. And I also had an entrepreneurial DNA inside me anyway. I kind of knew that that's one of the things I wanted to do eventually, just a matter of time. Right. So my parents were entrepreneurs, and my mom had her own business when she was 19 in Vietnam, and so that it is, this is before they we immigrated here to the U.S. But it's in my blood. So I would say that entrepreneurship has been kind of in my plans. It's just a matter of like what direction, and so I knew that it was time, right?
yeah, totally get it. I also have the entrepreneurial bug. I When I was working for Ericsson years ago, I traveled for 10 years consecutive. So there was a time I would go to the airport, I would start shaking. I don't want it. So I totally get you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Hmm. I'm trying to think about which ways that I can see why, but which ways that you think that this study and this journey of yours transformed you? How would you say that transformed you? In which way?
Transform me. Yeah, I think as I mentioned, I'm just more discerning, but I really pay attention to the signals. Um, Before I paid attention, but I also ignored them, even though I sometimes it'll come by and I'll see the signals in the past. And so now I'm really paying attention to the signals. So the consistency, the follow through, as I mentioned before, I think I'm more compassionate about it, right? Because I see when there's a breakdown, I'm like, okay, how could we it not had a breakdown? It's not just the individual, but where in the system, where in the structure did this did it lead to this? Right. So then I'm looking at the structure piece as well and analyzing that in my brain so that I can apply it and improve it. And looking at the trust building as a system, right? So I think, yeah. So I would say I'm more compassionate, and I mentioned earlier I'm more rigorous about it, but I'm also patient because I know it takes time. So then I makes me think, well, if there's a delay, so why not get it started early? Because we know that there's a delay to do trust building, right? So I would say it's changed me in that way. Yeah, I think I'm just more methodical about business partnerships, right?
Yeah, I hear also more data driven and analytical instead because business, we don't need emotions get in the way. So that's what I'm hearing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have some data points there too. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when you're looking at an investment deal together and you're teaming up with some partners, you're absolutely looking at the due diligence on the financials and all of that. That's a no brainer. But when it comes to picking the team and who you're partnering with, because you could have the best deal, but have a team that is not the A team, right? You're
Yeah.
not aligned. The A team is you're not aligned. You don't have all the right skill sets to operate this business or this investment, this project, whatever it is. It can go wrong. You can have an A deal, but a B team, and that B team could take that A deal to a D deal. It could totally fail. And so, so it's
Totally.
important. Yeah. So it's
I
important to,
was in that situation. I didn't underwrite the
uh-huh.
other GPs, the other partners, and there were bumps.
Mm, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're totally right. And yeah, we have to
Yeah.
look at all aspects. Yes.
Yes. And I would say too, it highlighted some of the experience I had too, analyzing kind of what I've experienced is values when a leader, a person, a partner, a potential partner has personal values that um, are not ethical or they're not aligned with, you know, another partner's values. Um, those values in a personal life will cross over to professional.
Yeah.
I think trying to separate it. Oh well, that's what they do in their personal life. They can have these practices that are not ethical or um, not truthful. There's betrayal, right, or whatever it is that's happening that's not aligned. Those values do cross over to business, and so I definitely have more. My radar goes up, for sure when I see those situations because now that I've learned from that and then studied this, I'm more aware of these signals. And
Totally. No.
I chose to leave, or I chose to not partner with people or team members or in an investment deal because of that as well. So,
Yeah.
so
No. To
yeah,
me, values it's critical.
it's critical. And to your point, I think that's what has contributed to me, operating a little different and how it changed me.
Nice. Yeah. Um, if there's one thing I learned, and needs alignment as well. That's why it's critical. Values.
Hmm.
Um, those are all great things. I want to know struggle. What was a during this journey a struggle that you had and you had to overcome?
Struggles. There's so many that I don't think this session has enough time.
Okay. Okay,
there's,
top 10.
there's always struggles in business and life, and I think it builds character, but you grow from it, you learn from it. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of challenges in business. Decisions you have to make, right? I would say um, early on at my career, just being kind of one of the youngest or the only female on an executive team, right? I felt like I had to work harder and more and take on more and prove myself more. Um, so there are some challenges there in certain industries too that were just male dominated. But you just got to move on and just still outperform. um, I would say the second is definitely working with people, and this is probably why this whole trust building and just this research and just all the changes I've made, it stemmed from this struggle is working with the right people and right leaders, especially when you're starting from your career and they're asking you to do something that crosses the line of integrity, right? If it's your manager or whatnot, and it's like a slippery slope. Making those hard decisions to say I'm not aligned with that is also tough. And and this was like I remember even learning about this in an academic level, right? This, you look at case studies of why good people do bad things, right? Make bad choices, end up going to jail or whatnot. And so you study kind of, how these things happen. And, but in practice, you're like, holy cow, like this is, not the right, decision, that's going to be fair, or it's ethical. And you're like, do I want to be part of it? So those decisions to walk away is, at the moment, was a struggle, but you want to do the right thing, that's aligned with your values.
Yeah.
So those are struggles in business. Talk about struggles in life in general, just juggling everything. When you're traveling a lot, you're constantly gone, you're working a lot ton of hours, or then you launch your own business and you're, handling, clients, and then you're juggling your personal life, caregiving, right? It's been a struggle, last year, especially, just aging parents. Dad has to have 3 surgeries in 1 year. That was not really, anticipated, and in that way, and so it just took a lot, right? So you're struggling to maintain, um, and stay above, just above water on everything. So I think life, there's a lot of struggles. There's personal, handling, aging parents is really tough as well. But you try to do your best, and you have to, um, ask for help, right? When you, because it's to a point like, oh my gosh, I actually need help. We need caregivers. We need other people to come and help. Family members to jump in and help, because it's a lot. So it's a struggle, but you have to figure out how to manage it all.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point, um, one thing that we have to learn is surround ourselves with right people. You mentioned something just now about it. That's how I understood it, and let go of people that it's not good in your life. That I
Yeah.
recently faced. I never. Well, you hear others saying, but yeah, it's not easy as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think life is full of struggles. Yeah. And
It is. It is.
but you don't have to see it as a struggle sometimes. I guess it's point of view. It's a challenge. So it's not like, oh, I'm struggling, because at the time I'm like, I'm not saying I'm struggling. I'm just like, wow, this is happening. I got to take care of it, right? And so you look back like, wow, there was a lot of weight to carry on this end and this end and this end and this end in your life. You're juggling everything. So I think at the time you don't look at it as a struggle. You just it's a situation.
Yeah. Another thing to overcome.
Yes, a situation that you're addressing.
And I know you have a lot of goals. I don't know which are those, but yeah, that's not the issue. But what keeps you motivated to keep going?
Yes, I've always had, um, just a lot of things I want to do in life. I think I'm just probably too much on my list, and I think that the experience in life, the things I want to accomplish, is what keeps me going. Right, these goals of, even though they're micro goals, learning a new instrument is a goal. Um, that keeps me going. Like, oh, I want to take this lesson. I want to enroll in something and then just learn to see if I like it. Right, that's, I did that. I was an adult learner for a music instrument, a very ancient music instrument. For over a decade, I just took private lessons, and it was one of my goals, is to learn that since I was young. And as an adult, I just decided to do it, and it keeps me going because it made me happy. Right, it was a challenge, um, and so I think those small, interest in life, keeps me going from a personal standpoint. From a business standpoint, definitely I have, goals where I want to be able to grow, a company, turn around a company, help clients, certain projects I want to work with, make impact to the community. So those are the things that help me. I think about, that I who I get to work with, who I get to make impact to the community, the world, whatever it is. It things I want to learn myself to keeping myself challenged, or I've been curious about it. Those are the things that keep me motivated.
Yeah, beautiful. So challenges and keep crossing. And yeah, did it, done, done, done.
Yeah, experience it. Like, did I like it? Maybe, or did I not like it? Or it's all no, but you know, I, I don't wouldn't know if I didn't try,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So even it's like as simple as a goal to visit more countries, just experience the culture, the food, and travel there. Right, that's a goal, and it keeps me motivated. Like, yeah, this
Yeah.
year I'm going to go to this country. This year I'm going to try one country a year, or at least another area that I've never been to, and that makes me motivated. Like, okay, I'm gonna be excited for this trip. I'm going to prepare for that, right? If there's preparation needed. So yeah, so I think that those are little small things that keeps me very excited about waking up every day and just getting things moving forward.
Yeah. To me, it's all about seizing and creating opportunities. That's all I ever wanted. I did want to identify and seize the opportunity or create the opportunity because from that, well, it's headed the direction that we planned for. So opportunities. Yeah.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Great. So now I warmed up. I have your mind warmed up. Now
Yeah.
there are these questions that I like um, to ask, and the first one would be if you have to rebuild the things that you're most proud of, but just in 1 year with the experience and everything you have today, how would you do it?
I have to rebuild something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let's say I'll have to restart. So, rebuild whatever you build until today in your journey. And you have just 1 year to do it.
Oh, that one's I've never thought about going back in time to rebuild something because the past is the past.
No, today, don't go back in time. Let's say
Oh,
you have
okay.
to restart today with your mind, with your experience.
Oh, if I get to build something new, not rebuild.
Rebuild your life, rebuild yourself, rebuild whatever. But
Okay.
with your experience, the advantage is, oh, now I have more experience.
Huh. Okay. So I'm trying to think of not just business or just in general in life. I would say if I had to go back, knowing what I know today, and then do something, focus on improving that, I'd say taking care of my health. And uh, when I was younger, I definitely undervalued sleep. And I think because I was such a machine and I worked 100 plus hours a week and I didn't care, I just
You
got,
what? You were?
yeah, I was
You
traveling a lot.
still are?
Yeah, I was gone. I was barely home. Again, I lived on my luggage, and I, yeah, I would stay in the office sometimes till like the next day, and then yeah, leave late and go to sleep for a few hours and get a workout in, and then head back to the office. So, but over time, that actually really eats up your health. And I think looking back and knowing what I know now, I think that I really undervalued sleep and taking care of my health. And so you learn the hard way. You learn from experience that that is not the long term plan, you know, to sustain, you know, your life and healthy life. And so I would say that would be one thing I could start now, and then I have been actually just kind of refocusing on making sure that you get enough sleep. And these are the simple things. It's so simple, but back then I think that that's just something I didn't. Everyone told me, and everyone would warn me. Oh my gosh, you're crazy. You're working, you're not sleeping. You're at the office, again. Like, did you change your clothes so it looks like you went back to the hotel, right? Because people leave and they come back and I'm still there. So yeah, I would say I would tell myself that my health is important, and moving forward to build it now is just regardless of all the projects I have in play or all of the work um, the clients I want to take care of. um, Never neglect your own health.
1000% I agree with you because it keeps you going. If you are healthy, yeah, it just keeps you going. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. But we are young and ignorant, so yeah, awesome. What success looks like to you?
Success looks like to me. I mean, there's various factors and markers depending on what it is, right? Um, if it's in business, there's obviously certain KPIs for a business, certain goals. Maybe they have, we have lagging indicators, leading indicators, all of that. So that's the business side. It's like it's kind of a no-brainer maybe. On a personal front, success is the whole big picture, everything in life that you're healthy, your family's happy, you're happy, financially strong, right? Everything comes into play. It's just not one thing. I think that's makes that can make up success in my definition. I don't view it as just one aspect in life, but the whole big picture. And of course, every of those aspects have its threshold of what's good, right? You know, um, I break it down to the action items that I need to do, or I put for myself, right? For instance, to maintain my health, you know, my goal, how I break that down is my goal is X amount of days. So at least my minimum is 3. If I can do 4 to 5 or even 6 workouts in a week, but my absolute minimum is 3 a week. You know, that's that's building consistency, right? I can maintain health. I can't work out one whole day and then 6 days a week I don't exercise. That you have to have consistency. So that's success to me that week. I take it week by week and then it builds, right? So yeah, so there's multiple factors in success for me.
Yeah, no, great mindset because it's small wins, and this is something that I talked here in other episodes. Usually, we like to realize at the end of the day that we are successful every day, no matter what. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
If I gave you a billboard, how would you use it? What would you put in the billboard?
Just any billboard and for any purpose?
Yeah, it's yours.
Uh Gosh, I never thought about having any using a billboard for anything. Mm, I have to think about that one. I mean, what would be effective on what I'm trying to do, right? Maybe I would use a billboard to um, share a message that is, because it's got a lot of visibility, maybe a message that is positive for the community, or something that um, that can be impactful, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think, um, yeah, I think, I mean, one thing just like that's I always think about just on the back of my head in anything I do, and how I look at life or business practices is sustainability and the environment. And so, um, it could be about that, right? Because that's impactful to the world. And um, yeah, because I've never thought about using a billboard for anything in my personal life or on business, for that matter. Advertising, and maybe it's useful for a client, but just in general, if I could just use it for anything, I would use it for something that can impact the world in a positive way. So it is about maybe a circular economy or limiting, a carbon footprint, something that has a positive message or a positive movement.
certainly. Yeah. Usually, the answer I receive is expressing something related to the experience, and there you go. Yeah, that's what would you like to? How would you like to impact as much
Yeah.
as possible? Add value. Yeah, great, great. Um, Usually, what do you consume? What learning resources would you recommend? Books or any last messages?
Books, huh? There's a lot of good books. Um, I I'm trying to think something not too technical. Technical books. Um, I would say read anything relating to systems thinking or systems dynamics. Um, is always for me is always interesting. It pulls me for sure down a rabbit hole. I could be spending hours and hours just modeling things and reworking things, and I can get lost in it. It actually turns me into like mad scientist. I think like I imagine like a lab coat, a white lab coat on, and like crazy looking hair. Like I just can go crazy and stay up late just modeling. So I love system dynamics. That field impacted my life in so many ways, in business and personal. But so that would be more of a general. I wouldn't. I mean, there is a really great book from John Sturman. It's a textbook though, but I would say that is one of my favorite books I always go to, and I've put stickers on it and have written all over it and highlighted things because I keep learning something new from it. Because I feel like I just had you know, an somewhat introduction to it. Because there's people spend years and years studying that, right? But in terms of kind of last words, I we talked a lot about business and trust and all of that, and yeah, I think I would just say that trust isn't just a soft variable. It's not just something that you know this element of oh yeah yeah it's actually structural, and so that would be my one thing that I would say I'd want to have as a takeaway is trust is structural. um, and we do tend to regulate trust to be the culture and values in a company, right? And maybe even like a company, like a leadership offsite, right? But it's not just that, right? Trust is dynamic. It's very dynamic. There's measurable forces that determine whether a whole ecosystem, like the region we talked about in Madrid, it can grow or collapse, right? So for business, it can determine whether a deal gets done and it's profitable or not. If there's capital flowing in, right? Can you get trust built with your investors continuously, right? And whether in a company if talent stays. And so, as a any entrepreneur, a manager, a business owner that has employees, ask, what am I doing consistently to build trust and build that trust reservoir? with their team, their partners, or if they have investors with their investors. So it's not like this big grand gesture. It's the daily drops. It's the daily drops. So and so for investors though, maybe from an investor point of view, maybe they can ask themselves, am I giving founders, entrepreneurs the right conditions to build trust, or inadvertently creating any low trust dynamics in misaligned expectations? Because expectations is also part of the study, right? How they can break trust. Expectations are here and from the investor, and it's not being met. There's a gap, right? There's an achievement gap. So that breaks trust. And so if you're working with any kind of ecosystem, any city, any industry, any network, inside companies as well, um, I would say just walk away thinking about, you know, what's the trust architecture there what situation you're in, right? Where are the loops that are reinforcing itself, and where may it collapse? Because the trust is an invisible infrastructure. So you got to invest in it like it's an asset too. So I would say that's the takeaway. Final words for that. It was quite fascinating to study that, and how I been impacted by that since, with how I do business now. So thank you for having a conversation about it too.
Wow, no, it is fascinating. Thanks for the word. Yes. Thanks for the lesson. It was a class. And I always think about procedures as well, but you gave like a new glue to my way of thinking. And having trust, it's important to have procedures and efficiency, but yeah, without trust and building it consciously,
Mhm.
yeah, the structure might not work. Yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great to have this conversation. And it was a good talk. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it a lot. Thanks a lot, Karen.
All right. Thank
Talk,
you.
talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.